الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيدنا محمد المصطفى وعلى آله الأمجاد وأصحابه والصدق والصفاء أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أم يحسدون الناس على ما آتاهم الله من فضله صدق الله العظيم قال الله تعالى في شأن حبيبه الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. Dear brothers and sisters, elders and friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As mentioned in the last two khatirat about the spiritual diseases of heart, one is bukhl, one is stinginess, and the other mentioned last Friday was about the arrogance, takabbur. And the most important topic in this consensus and in this relativity is about the disease that the heart gets afflicted the most. About the spiritual disease that Imam Ghazali mentioned in this Ahya Ulumuddin, he says the most dangerous disease of heart, the spiritual disease of heart, which affects the most is al-hasad. Hasad, envy, being jealousy. He says that it's the most dangerous disease that afflicts the heart. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says related to that, Am yahsuduna an-nasa ala ma atahum Allah min fadli. Or do they envy people for what Allah has given them from His bounties? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses someone. He gives some bounties to some of His slaves. So the other people who are not blessed with those bounties, they envy people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking, Am yahsudun an-nas? Do you envy people? Do they envy people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed with a bounty, with a favor? So this is totally against Islam, totally against the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because there are ailments, there are some morals that you have, and the ailments for moral are the things, the diseases that you have in your heart. The moral thing that you have and the diseases of heart is something that also impures your soul. It doesn't just impure your life, but it also impures your soul, your heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. So Allah is saying, indeed, you're successful only if your soul, your heart is pure. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. They are the ones who purify their heart, their souls, their nafs. So how to purify your heart? To diagnose these diseases. It is very important. Unfortunately, we don't even realize that we are dealing with these diseases. We are diagnosed with these diseases and we don't even realize this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that it just not eats your sukoon, your peace, but it also eats your good deeds. Hasad is something, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's reported in Abu Dawood. He said that Iyyakum wal hasad, beware, avoid envy. Iyyakum wal hasad, fa innal hasada ya'kulul hasanati kama ta'kulun nar al hatab. It means Rasulullah is saying, beware of envy, beware of jealousy, avoid envy. Why? Because it eats your good deeds like the fire eats dry wood or dry grass, ash-shu'b. See, the good deeds that we earn, we get it after a lot of efforts. Like after waking up for Fajr, after reciting the Quran, after praying 5 times Salah, the Hajjud, and then paying zakat, alms, giving charity, and taking the trials of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by patience. These good deeds we earn by a lot of efforts. But this small feeling of hasad will eat away all your good deeds. That's very unfortunate. We don't even realize that we are having envy. We are having hasad, and it is eating away your good deeds, like something is decreasing your wealth from your bank account. What happens if you see that your bank account is getting empty without any reason? You will be surprised. Similarly, and more surprised you will be on the day of judgment when you say that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I prayed 5 times, I gave charity, I go to zakah, I go to Hajj, I went for Umrah, I do good deeds, but why is my account empty? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, Am yahsudun an-nas. You do not envy people, you were jealous of people, you have hasad in your heart for people. That is why your account is empty. So Rasulullah said that hasad is something that will eat your good deeds, like fire eats. See, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always gives example. He knows how to touch your hearts. He knows your psyche. So he always gives example through which you can understand things. We see fire, how it eats the dry wood or dry grass. Rasulullah gave an example of dry grass or dry wood. You see how it catches. The fire catches them. So Rasulullah is saying that your good deeds will be eaten up by your hasad, like the fire eats the wood. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave example plenty of times in the Quran about hasad. It is that we have to reflect upon the Quran. If we read Quran, the surahs of the Quran, we will understand how important it is to diagnose these diseases of heart, these spiritual diseases of heart. We see the example that I gave in my last khatira about shaitan, about the takabbur. He said, Ana khayrun min. I am better than him. I am better than Adam. I will not prostrate him. Why? Because you created me with fire, you created him with clay. خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. And one more thing that stopped him from prostrating was envy. He was hasad of Adam alayhi salam. He was a hasid of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. That is the reason why he did not prostrated. And the other example is from Surah Ma'idah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about the sons of Adam alayhi salam. So before the earth, the world was established, it was hasad that put him down. And then after the world was established, the 2 sons of Adam alayhi salam, Habil and Qabil. We know about their story. إِذْ قَرَّبَا قُرْبَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِذْ قَرَّبَا قُرْبَانًا فَتُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the stories of Adam alayhi salam's son, Habil and Qabil. We know one of them was a shepherd. Habil was a shepherd and Qabil was a farmer. What happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked for a qurbani, for a sacrifice. So Habil gave a qurbani from him. He gave a sacrifice of his animal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted. Qabil gave some crops, but it was not proper. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That you will not attain piety until and unless you give your most beloved thing in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See, you have to recite Quran and understand Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us ways and sources to get away from the hellfire. You will not attain piety until and unless you give the most beloved thing in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happened? Habil gave his most beloved thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Qabil gave crops that were not good. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't accept that. فَتُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. Allah accepted from one and rejected from the other. Then what happened? He got jealous. Qabil, he was brother. He was a brother of Habil. He got jealous. Envy came into his heart. And then he said, قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. He said, that I'm gonna kill you. So Habil said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept from those only who have taqwa in their hearts. قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ. So what happened? Habil got killed by his brother Qabil. And what was the main reason about that killing? The first murder of this world was envy, hasad. Hasad. He had hasad for his brother Habil, and then he killed his brother. So this is the prime example of being jealous leads you to hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that he will be in the hellfire in the Quran. So these are some of these examples. So this is why Rasulullah said that dabba ilaykum wa da'ul umami qablakum al-hasadu wal-baghda'u. It means there has come to you a disease. Rasulullah termed this thing hasad as a disease. He says that there has come to you a disease which was with the nations before you. The ummah before you had this disease, and this disease has also come to you. And then he said, al-hasad wal-baghdha. It means the envy, hasad, and the hatred that you have in your heart for your brothers is actually a disease. Rasulullah termed this thing as a disease. And what is hasad actually? Envy, hasad is to wish that someone has something. If he has some blessing or bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he loses that thing. This is what hasad is. You have a feeling in your heart that if someone is having something, if someone is owning a car, a luxury car, or a big house, and you have that feeling that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him lose that thing. That is hasad. You feel that should be only with me. It shouldn't be with him. That is hasad. So thinking about something which you do not have any control about. See, the bounties of Allah is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives these bounties, who have fazl upon you. So it is something that's uncontrollable. You don't have control over the fazl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is so disturbing that we feel dissatisfied or unsatisfied for things that we don't have control upon. That is so unfortunate that we feel and think about things that we don't have control about. Like mostly, if I say examples about back home, we see that especially the sisters or brothers who have envy about their in-laws. What they do, they feel that okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given him child, a male child, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him properties. Some of the people, they have envy. I don't say everyone, but we see these examples, and about that thing, what they do is they go to the extreme. In order to just satisfy their feelings, what they do is they do sihr. Na'udhu billah. We have these examples. They do sihr. They have this evil eye upon other people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, al-ainu haqqun. Al-ainu haqqun. That evil eye is haqq. It is there. There are some people that don't believe that there is some evil eye, but it's reported in Sahih Muslim. Rasulullah is saying, al-ainu haqqun. And it is so dangerous that Rasulullah is saying, وَلَوْ كَانَ شَيْءٌ سَابَقَ الْقَدْرَ سَبَقَتْهُ الْعَيْنِ. It means if something would precede the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would have been the ain, the evil eye. It is so dangerous that Rasulullah is saying, if some would precede the decree, the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it would have been the evil eye. And we see that unintentionally or intentionally, we have bad eyes, evil eyes on people. That is so bad. That is so bad that we are thinking about the destruction of our brothers and sisters. Rasulullah is saying, Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim. We are brothers, we are sisters, that we are like a family. And instead of that, we think of destruction for other people. That is so bad. Rasulullah is saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَا تَتَمَنَّوْا مَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ بَعْضَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. وَلَا تَتَمَنَّوْا. Do not wish for something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given to others. وَلَا تَتَمَنَّوْا مَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given bounties to others. Do not wish for that thing, except that you have to be wishing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave us the cure for this hasad. There are cures for everything. Like I said that for bukhl, for stinginess, the cure is generosity. You give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for arrogance, it's humbleness. The cure is you be humble. For takabbur, you have to be tawadu'. There should be humbleness. And for hasad, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it is reported in Musnad Ahmad that إِذَا رَأَى أَحَدُكُمْ, he gave us the cure for hasad. إِذَا رَأَى أَحَدُكُمْ مِنْ أَخِيهِ أَوْ مِنْ نَفْسِهِ أَوْ مِنْ مَالِهِ مَا يُعْجِبُهُ فَلْيَدْعُ لَهُ بِالْبَرَكَةِ. He says that if you see something from your brother, yourself, or wealth, which you find impressing, if you see that it's impressing, the wealth or the properties of your brothers, so what do? Rasulullah said, then you make dua for blessing for them. Then you make dua for barakah for them. You said, Allahumma zid fazid. You said, may Allah increase in you. You say, Allahumma barik fik. You make a dua then and there itself. Because this feeling, as I said, will eat away your good deeds. You will not even realize that your good deeds are getting subtracted. You will not even realize that your account is getting empty. Rasulullah also said that, as I said, that it will eat your good deeds. That hasad eats your good deeds like kama ta'kulun nar al-hatab, like the fire eats the dry wood. The hasad, that envy, the jealousy, it's just a small feeling in your heart. That small feeling will eat away all your good deeds. So, in order to avoid that, you make dua for that people who is blessed with bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also give you. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us on the straight path, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us away from envy, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cleanse, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refreshes our soul and heart. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. 5 minutes for sunnah prayer, khutbat and salah.